The best month to retire, and the worst one, could cost you $11,000. You've spent decades working for your retirement. You saved, you invested, you planned, and now you finally picked the year you want to retire. Congratulations! But there's one question you probably haven't asked yet. What month should you retire? Because here's something most people never tell you. Choosing the wrong month could potentially cost you thousands of dollars, possibly as much as $11,000. And no, this has nothing to do with whether the stock market goes up or down. It has to do with something much less exciting, but potentially much more important: timing. Your retirement date can affect your taxes, your 401k, your unused vacation pay, your health insurance, Medicare, Social Security, and even how much money you get to keep. Think about that. You could spend 40 years building your retirement nest egg, and then make one small timing mistake that costs you thousands. So in this video, we're going to walk through the biggest retirement date traps, and at the end, I'll give you 4 specific dates you should know before you hand in that retirement letter. Let's get started. 1. The stock market isn't the only thing you need to worry about. When people plan retirement, they usually think about one thing first: the market. Should I sell stocks? Should I keep investing? What if the market crashes? Those are important questions, but there's another factor sitting right in front of you, and unlike the stock market, you can actually control it: your retirement date. Think about everything attached to that date: your final paycheck, your unused vacation, your employer retirement contribution, your health insurance, your bonus, and the year your income gets reported for tax purposes. Move your retirement date by a few weeks, and some of those numbers can change. That's why choosing a retirement date isn't just a calendar decision, it's a financial decision. 2. Don't walk away from free money. Let's start with your employer. If you have a 401k, your company may contribute money to your account. Sounds great, but there may be a catch. Some employer contributions come with vesting requirements. You may need to remain employed until a specific date. You may need to work a certain number of hours, or you may need to remain employed through the end of the year. Now imagine this. You're 62, 65, or 67. You've decided that's it, I'm done. So you retire in September. You leave, you're happy. You finally escape the Monday morning alarm clock. Then January comes around, and you discover something. If you had stayed until the end of the year, you could have received another $3,000, maybe $4,000, maybe even $5,000, just for staying a few more months. That hurts, because you didn't lose that money in the stock market. You didn't lose it because your investments crashed. You lost it because of one date on a calendar. So before you retire, call HR. Ask exactly when your employer contributions become fully vested. 3. Your vacation pay could create a surprise tax bill. Now let's talk about something else people often forget: unused vacation. Some employers pay you for unused vacation days when you leave. That sounds like a nice retirement bonus. But there's a catch. That money may count as taxable income in the year you receive it. Here's where timing gets interesting. Imagine you retire on December 15th. You've already received almost an entire year of salary. Then your employer pays you another large amount for unused vacation. Now all that money lands in the same tax year. Your income jumps, and your tax bill may jump with it. But what if that vacation payout arrives in January instead? Same money, same employee, same vacation days, different tax year, and that can produce a very different result. This is one of the biggest themes of retirement planning. It's not only how much money you make, it's when you make it. 4. The most important phone call you can make before retirement. Before you choose your retirement date, call your HR department. And don't just ask, "When can I retire?" Ask better questions. First, when does my employer retirement contribution become fully vested? Second, when will my unused vacation be paid? Third, are there any bonuses, stock awards, or other benefits that vest at the beginning of next year? That conversation could take 10 minutes. But the information could be worth thousands of dollars. And this is one of those rare situations where a phone call could potentially save you more money than months of investment tinkering. 5. December 31st versus January 1st. Now we get to the really interesting part. December 31st, January 1st, just 24 hours apart. But financially, they can be two completely different worlds. If you retire at the beginning of a new year, your first retirement year could become a relatively low-income year. No salary, no regular paycheck, maybe some interest, some dividends, and income from your investments or other sources. That may sound boring, but financially, a low-income year can be incredibly valuable. Why? Because you may have more room to make tax moves. You could potentially convert part of a traditional IRA into a Roth IRA while you're in a lower tax bracket. You may be able to sell appreciated investments and potentially take advantage of more favorable long-term capital gains treatment. According to the figures used in this script, a married couple in 2026 could have up to $98,900 of taxable income while potentially qualifying for a 0% long-term capital gains rate on certain gains. Now, whether that applies to you depends on your specific situation, but the bigger lesson is simple: the tax year matters a lot. 6. The retirement golden window. There's another concept you need to understand. The years immediately after you retire can be extremely important for tax planning. You've stopped earning a salary, but you may not yet have every major retirement income source flowing in, and required withdrawals may not have started. That can create a temporary period when your taxable income is relatively low. Think of it as a financial window, and while that window is open, you may have opportunities. Roth conversions, investment sales, strategic withdrawals, tax planning. But once your income rises again, that window can become much smaller. So the question isn't simply, when should I stop working? The better question is, what will my income look like after I stop working? That's a much more powerful question. 7. If you're 65 or older, there's another detail. If you're over 65, there may be additional tax benefits worth considering. According to the figures used in this script, from 2025 through 2028, people aged 65 and older may qualify for an additional deduction of up to $6,000 per person. For a married couple, that could potentially mean $12,000. But there's a catch. The benefit depends on income. The deduction begins to phase out above $75,000 for single filers or $150,000 for married couples, according to the figures in the source script. So once again, your final working year matters. If your salary, your bonus, your vacation payout, and other income all land in the same year, you could push your income higher than expected, and that could reduce the benefit available to you. 8. Don't retire into a health insurance gap. Now let's talk about one of the most expensive mistakes you can make: health insurance. When you leave your job, your employer-sponsored coverage usually ends. But exactly when it ends matters. Imagine your coverage ends December 31st. Fine, your new coverage starts January 1st. Perfect. But what if your employer coverage ends on December 15th, and your new coverage doesn't begin until January 1st? Now you have a gap, and a medical emergency during that gap could become very expensive. So don't just ask, "What month does my insurance end?" Ask, "What exact day does my coverage end?" Then ask, "What exact day does my new coverage begin?" Those two dates need to line up. 9. The deductible trap. Here's another reason retiring in December might not always make sense. Imagine it's October. You've already spent a lot on medical care this year. You've hit your deductible. Maybe you've even reached your out-of-pocket maximum. At this point, your remaining medical expenses could be relatively low. Now imagine you retire. You switch to a new health insurance plan, and your deductible resets. Suddenly you're paying thousands of dollars again. Same person, same medical needs, different insurance year. So sometimes, staying on your current plan until December 31st and switching coverage in January could make more financial sense. This is why there is no universal answer. The best retirement month depends on your situation. 10. Retiring before 65? This gets even more important. If you retire before 65, health insurance deserves even more attention. Why? Because you may not yet qualify for Medicare, so you may need coverage through the health insurance marketplace. And according to the source script, changes to insurance subsidies in 2026 could cause premiums for some early retirees to rise significantly. But there's another issue: your income. The income you report during your retirement year can affect the amount of assistance you receive. So again, timing matters. And again, we arrive at the same principle: control your income from year to year. The HSA trap most people miss. Now let's talk about HSAs in retirement. If you're still working after age 65 and contributing to an HSA, pay attention. When you enroll in Medicare Part A, coverage can sometimes be retroactive. The source script references a period of up to 6 months. That means Medicare enrollment and HSA contributions must be carefully coordinated. Once Medicare takes effect, your HSA contribution eligibility may be affected. You could accidentally make contributions after becoming ineligible. Those contributions could become excess HSA contributions, and penalties may apply to those contributions. So if you're approaching Medicare eligibility age, plan carefully. Plan your HSA contributions around your Medicare enrollment date. Be especially careful when starting Social Security at the same time. These retirement decisions can interact with each other. IRMAA, the 2-year look-back that can surprise you. Now we get to a term that sounds complicated. That term is IRMAA, but the concept is simple. For some higher-income Medicare beneficiaries, IRMAA can increase Medicare premiums. And here's what makes this especially interesting. Medicare may look at your income from 2 years earlier. For example, your 2026 Medicare premiums could use your 2024 income. That example follows the scenario provided in this script. Now imagine your final working year arrives. You receive your full salary that year. You may also receive a large bonus. You could receive additional vacation pay as well. You might have investment income during that year. And maybe you receive other payments too. Your total income suddenly spikes higher. You could end up paying more taxes. Then, 2 years later, something interesting happens. That high-income year could affect your Medicare premiums. So your retirement date can create delayed financial consequences. Those consequences may not appear immediately after retirement. That's why retirement planning isn't just about next month. Sometimes you need to think 2 years ahead. Social Security is another timing decision. Now let's take a closer look at Social Security. The timing of when you start claiming matters. If you start claiming earlier, your income changes. If you wait longer, your income changes too. Either choice can change your income during that year. That change can affect how much of your Social Security benefit becomes taxable. For people born in 1960 or later, the full retirement age used in this script is 67. However, reaching age 67 does not automatically mean now is the right time to claim. Your personal situation matters significantly. Your other sources of income matter as well. Your overall tax situation also matters. Your health insurance situation can matter too. And your broader retirement strategy matters just as much. So don't treat your Social Security start date like an automatic appointment on your calendar. Instead, treat that date like an important financial decision. Then come the RMDs. Eventually, another important retirement rule enters the picture. That rule is known as required minimum distributions. Most people simply call them RMDs. According to the source script, the starting age may be 73 for many people. For people born in 1960 or later, that age may be 75. There is an interesting rule that comes into play here. If you qualify, you may be able to delay your first RMD until April 1st of the following year. At first, that sounds like a great option. However, there is an important catch to consider. You could end up taking 2 RMDs during the same year. That means 2 separate withdrawals from your retirement accounts. It can also mean significantly more taxable income. More taxable income could potentially result in higher taxes. It could also potentially lead to higher Medicare premiums. Therefore, delaying your first RMD is not automatically the smartest move. Sometimes, another strategy can produce a better outcome. Spreading your income across different tax years can sometimes be more valuable. So what is the best month to retire? Now we can finally address the question directly. For many people, January can be a very attractive month to retire. This is especially true for January 1st or early January. So why can January be so attractive? Because you are beginning a completely new tax year. You are also no longer earning an entire year of salary. As a result, your taxable income may decrease, and that potential decrease can create valuable opportunities. You may have more room available for Roth conversions. You may also have greater flexibility with investment sales. You could have more control over your retirement withdrawals, and you may potentially have more control over your overall tax bill. However, Don't make the mistake of treating this as a universal retirement rule. January is not automatically the best month for everyone. In some situations, another month may make more financial sense. Sometimes, the numbers are telling you to wait. When should you wait? Here are a few situations worth considering carefully. You've already reached your health insurance deductible for the year. You may want to stay through the end of the year and take advantage of the coverage you've already paid for. Your company pays a large annual bonus during January. In that situation, you may want to wait until you receive that bonus. Your retirement benefit becomes fully vested on December 31st. You probably don't want to leave your job on December 20th, because leaving just 10 days early could potentially cost you thousands of dollars. And this leads us to the bigger lesson. Don't choose your retirement date based on emotions. Choose your retirement date based on your financial situation. The 4 dates you need before you retire. This is the checklist I want you to remember. Before submitting your retirement paperwork, make sure you call your HR department. Then ask about these 4 important dates before making your final decision. For the first date, ask exactly when your health insurance coverage will end. You need to know more than just the month. You need to know the exact date. For the second date, ask when your unused vacation pay will actually be issued. Will that payment arrive during December? Could that payment arrive during January? Or could it arrive during another month? Make sure you know the answer before retiring. For the third date, ask when your employer retirement contribution becomes fully vested. This particular date could potentially be worth thousands of dollars. For the fourth date, ask whether any bonuses, stock awards, or other benefits become vested at the beginning of next year. Make sure you understand exactly what happens with those benefits. Write all 4 important dates down. Then take one more important step. Take a careful look at your tax situation. Estimate your total income for your final working year. Then estimate your total income for your first retirement year. And finally, calculate how much money you actually need every month. That amount should support the retirement lifestyle you actually want. Don't simply guess about these numbers. Run the numbers carefully before deciding. Because your retirement date should be based on your financial plan. It should not be based only on your birthday. The big takeaway. Here is the main lesson I want you to remember. You cannot control what the stock market does. You cannot accurately predict where the economy will go. You cannot know exactly what stocks will do tomorrow. But you can control one very important decision. You can control when you retire. And that single decision can affect several important areas of your retirement. It can affect your taxes. It can affect your 401k. It can affect your Medicare premiums. It can affect your health insurance. It can affect your Social Security benefits. It can affect your retirement accounts. And ultimately, it can affect how much money stays in your pocket. So don't retire simply because you think you are already 65. Don't retire simply because you tell yourself, "I've had enough." Instead, take one step back. Look carefully at the entire financial picture before making that decision. Because sometimes, waiting just a few additional weeks can make a meaningful difference. Or moving your retirement date into the next tax year could potentially save you thousands of dollars. Take a moment and really think about that possibility. You may have spent 30 or 40 years building your retirement nest egg. That represents decades of working hard. That represents decades of saving money. That represents decades of investing carefully. That represents decades of planning ahead. Don't allow one small decision about a date to undermine everything you have built. Choose your retirement date intentionally and carefully, because sometimes when you retire can matter almost as much as how much you saved. And before you leave, write down those 4 important dates, because that simple 5-minute conversation with your HR department could become one of the most valuable financial decisions you make before retirement.